If you've ever lived under an HOA, let me ask you something real quick. Have you ever dealt with someone who treated neighborhood rules like personal weapons? I'm going to tell you what happened to my family, and I need you to understand something up front. This didn't start with an accident. It didn't start with police. It started with a scooter. We moved into the neighborhood thinking we'd finally found calm. You know the type of place I mean. Quiet streets. Lawns trimmed within an inch of their lives. Kids riding bikes. People waving, but not stopping long enough to talk. The kind of suburb where nothing bad is supposed to happen. My wife loved it right away. My son loved it even more. He was 10 at the time. Good kid. Quiet. Creative. The kind of kid who could spend an hour drawing dinosaurs with sidewalk chalk and not get bored once. His favorite thing in the world was his scooter. Nothing fancy. Just a regular kick scooter. Helmet on. Knees scraped up. Big smile. The first morning after we moved in, he took it out to the cul-de-sac. I stood in the driveway with my coffee, watching him circle around, laughing to himself. That moment felt like success. Like, yeah, this is why we worked so hard to get here. Then she showed up. I didn't know her name yet, but I knew exactly what she was. She walked across the street like she owned the pavement. Beige polo tucked into pressed pants. White sneakers so clean they didn't look real. A Bluetooth headset clipped to her ear, blinking like it was always listening. She smiled, but it never reached her eyes. "Welcome to the neighborhood," she said, holding out a thick packet of papers. Not a flyer. A packet. "I'm with the HOA," she added, like she was introducing herself as law enforcement. "You'll want to read the covenants carefully." My wife thanked her. I nodded politely. My son waved with chalk-stained fingers. The woman glanced at him. Not warmly, not kindly, like she was taking inventory. She handed me the packet. It was heavy enough to bend at the corners. "No toys left on lawns," she said casually. "No chalk drawings visible from the street. And absolutely no wheeled devices on private roadways." I blinked. "Even scooters?" She smiled again. "That's covered under unauthorized recreational equipment." That was my first clue. After she left, I flipped through the packet. Rules on rules, subsections, footnotes, diagrams. I joked to my wife that it felt like it needed a table of contents and a sequel. We laughed. We shouldn't have. The next day, my son rode his scooter again. Same routine, same helmet, same harmless loops around the cul-de-sac. 6 minutes. I timed it later. When I went to get the mail that afternoon, I saw it. A bright pink sticky note slapped across our mailbox like a parking ticket. "Control your child. The HOA is watching." No name, no signature, just that. I stared at it longer than I should have. Then I looked down the driveway. My son was kneeling on the sidewalk, drawing a dinosaur with chalk. Big teeth, tiny arms, sunglasses. He looked up at me. "Dad, did I do something wrong?" That question hit harder than the note. "No," I told him immediately. "You didn't do anything wrong." And I meant it. But inside, something shifted. 2 days later, we got the community newsletter. Usually it was boring stuff, trash pickup reminders, yard tips, lost pets. This one had a new section. Recent community safety violations. Guess who made the list? Unsupervised minor operating unregistered motorized equipment. Motorized. I actually laughed out loud. It was a kick scooter. That afternoon, I caught her standing across the street with her phone out, pointed directly at my son. I walked outside. "Are you recording my kid?" I asked. She didn't even look embarrassed. "I'm documenting potential liabilities," she said. "There have been reports of unsafe behavior." I looked down. My son was adding sunglasses to his chalk dinosaur and writing a name underneath it. Ratasaurus. "That's the unsafe behavior?" I asked. She didn't answer. Just turned and walked away like she'd won something. That night, I posted on the neighborhood forum. Nothing aggressive. Nothing rude. Just, "Hey everyone, let's keep cameras off each other's kids. They're just playing." The replies came fast. From accounts with names like Civic Watch and HOA Guardian 72. "Concerned residents have a right to record violations. Better safe than sorry. Children need boundaries." One comment said, "Scooter boy has been pushing limits for weeks." Scooter boy. That's when it stopped being funny. The next weekend, it escalated. She stood on the sidewalk, arms folded, watching my son ride. When he waved at her, she didn't wave back. She shouted, loud enough for the block to hear, "Shouldn't your child be supervised?" I called back, trying to keep it light. "He is. By snacks and common sense." She didn't laugh. That afternoon, we got a formal violation notice. Sealed envelope. HOA logo printed at the top. Persistent use of unauthorized wheeled devices. My wife read it twice. "Is this real?" "It's as real as reality TV," I said. But I didn't feel relaxed anymore. That night, my son came inside early. Quiet. Shoulders slumped. "She yelled at me again," he said softly. I knelt down. "What did she say?" He hesitated. "Then, she said if I don't stop, I'll get removed." Removed Removed from what? He swallowed. She said people who don't follow rules disappear. My hands clenched. She said that to a 10-year-old. I walked outside immediately. She was in her driveway, loading groceries into her SUV like nothing had happened. We locked eyes. I hope we're clear now, she said. Oh, we are, I replied. She frowned. What's that supposed to mean? I didn't answer. Because as I stood there, I noticed something I hadn't before. Her SUV, parked at the curb, the angle of the driveway, the way she watched my son ride past it every day. And in that moment, a cold thought crossed my mind. This wasn't about rules anymore. This was about control. And she wasn't finished. Because the next time she showed up, she wouldn't be holding a clipboard. She'd be behind the wheel. By the time the next notice showed up, I already knew something was wrong. This one wasn't in the mailbox. It was taped directly to our front door. Red border, all caps, no greeting. Notice of recurring infractions, penalty pending category, disruptive minor activity, fine, $500 PR incident, compliance deadline, immediate. My wife read it once. Then again. This has to be a prank, she said. I wanted to agree, but tucked behind the paper was something heavier. A USB drive. We plugged it into the laptop. What came up made my stomach drop. 7 video clips. Different angles. Different days. My son riding his scooter. From across the street. From behind a hedge. From what looked like a neighbor's porch camera. Each clip had labels. Time stamps. Notes. Excessive speed. Sharp turns. Repeated exposure. My wife covered her mouth. He's just riding, she said. That's all he's doing. They're tracking him, I said quietly. From behind us, my son asked, am I in trouble? I turned around and forced a smile. No, you didn't do anything wrong. But inside, I was done. That afternoon, I walked to her house. She opened the door almost immediately, like she'd been waiting. Oh, she said sweetly. Hello. We need to talk. Of course, she replied. Let me grab the enforcement log. She came back holding a binder. Tabbed, color-coded, laminated. She flipped it open like a prosecutor. Monday, 3:12 p.m. Excessive velocity. Wednesday, unauthorized sidewalk contact. Thursday, boundary overstep by 6 inches. I stared at her. You're keeping a log on my 10-year-old? I'm protecting the community, she said calmly. You're surveilling a child. She tilted her head. Is that how you see it? Before I could answer, a man stepped into view behind her. Her husband. Big guy. Red flannel. Eyes like he was already annoyed I existed. You got a problem? He asked. Yeah, I said. Your wife is harassing my kid. He stepped forward. I suggest you leave before this escalates. It already has, I said. It's called harassment. I walked away before I said something I couldn't take back. 3 days later, the petition showed up. Light blue cardstock. Dropped in every mailbox. Community stability petition. Do you support a formal investigation into household 12 for behavior inconsistent with community values? We were household 12. My wife stared at it. This is insane. No, I said. This is organized. Then came the emergency HOA meeting. Held in her garage. Folding chairs. A projector. A tray of muffins labeled supportive snacks. 4 neighbors showed up. None of them met my eyes. She clicked the projector on. Slide 1. Persistent threats to community standards. Slide 2. A freeze frame of my son mid-turn on his scooter. Slide 3. Behavioral risk indicators. She read them out loud like a diagnosis. Elevated movement velocity. Excessive outdoor frequency. Independence without supervision. I stood up. You're describing a child, I said. Not a threat. He's erratic, she replied. And unsupervised. He's 10. One man in the back raised his hand. What happens if they don't pay the fines? She didn't hesitate. They'll be classified as non-compliant. Enforcement steps will begin. I looked straight at her. You've written a playbook for exile. I've written a protection protocol, she snapped. And you think this holds up in court? She smiled. Who said anything about court? That's when I snapped. You come after my kid again, I said, loud enough for everyone to hear, and I'll sue this HOA into the ground. Personally, professionally, I'll make every fake rule you've written public. Someone gasped. One woman dropped a muffin. Her husband stood up. Are you threatening my wife? No, I said. I'm warning her. I walked out. She followed me into the driveway. You think you're untouchable, she hissed. I think you're spiraling. You're ruining everything I've built. You mean my son is ruining it? I said. Just say it. Her face tightened. He doesn't belong here. And there it was. A neighbor across the street was recording. She noticed too late. She straightened, turned, and stormed back inside. That night, I started digging. HOA bylaws, tax filings, board records, and what I found told me one thing for sure. She wasn't just power hungry. She was hiding something. But before I could finish pulling the thread, everything exploded. It happened on a Tuesday afternoon. I was in the garage. My son was riding his scooter like always. Then I heard it. Tires. A horn. A sound I'll never forget. I ran outside and saw my son on the pavement, curled up, scooter thrown aside, and her SUV, still running. She was already yelling. He darted out. I had no time to stop. I dropped to my knees beside my son. "Tim, can you hear me?" He whimpered. Tried to speak. Couldn't. That's what broke me. Not the blood. Not the leg bent wrong. The fear in his eyes. Paramedics arrived. Neighbors gathered. And instead of apologizing, she pulled out her phone. "I need to call my legal rep," she said. "We need to get ahead of this." Ahead of this. As they loaded my son into the ambulance, she didn't even look at him. And then the cops arrived. She stepped forward first. "Officers," she said, "thank goodness. I need to report child neglect." I stared at her. "You hit my kid." She smiled tightly. "He was unsupervised." That's when I realized something important. She wasn't panicking. She was executing a plan. And she thought she was about to win. The police didn't rush to conclusions. But they didn't rush to defend us either. One officer crouched near my son's scooter. The other stood with a notepad, listening to her speak. She talked fast, clear, confident, practiced. "He's been allowed to play in the roadway for weeks," she said. "There are repeated safety violations. I've documented everything." I felt my hands shaking. "You accelerated," I said. "This is a cul-de-sac. You never drive that fast." She didn't even look at me. "I was within the limit," she replied. "He swerved." I pointed at the asphalt, then explained the skid marks. That made a few neighbors murmur. One woman, Linda, from 2 houses down, stepped forward. "I saw it," she said. "He was already in the road. You didn't slow down." My heart jumped. Karen turned sharply. "You weren't close enough to judge." "I was a crossing guard for 12 years, Linda said calmly. "I know what I saw." The officers exchanged a glance. The ambulance doors closed. My wife rode with my son. I stayed, because she wasn't done. As the paramedics pulled away, she crossed her arms and said it. "I'm pressing charges." I laughed once. Sharp. Disbelieving. "For what?" I asked. "For threats," she said. "For harassment. For emotional distress. You ran over my kid. And you've been intimidating HOA leadership," she replied smoothly. "There's a pattern." I felt something go cold inside me. She wasn't reacting. She was following steps. That night, we got the call. My son's leg was broken badly, but fixable. He would heal. What I wasn't prepared for was the envelope waiting on our kitchen counter when we got home. A lawsuit, filed by her, 12 pages long. She claimed I created a hostile environment, that I incited neighbors, that I endangered the community, and the HOA. They backed her. 3 board members attached sworn statements. 2 names I didn't recognize. That's when I stopped being angry, and started being precise. I pulled out the HOA bylaws I'd been reading for days. Page 47. Election schedule. The board was required to reconfirm annually. The last official election, 5 years ago, which meant something big. She wasn't the HOA president. She wasn't on the board. She wasn't anything. I dug deeper. Meeting minutes. Signatures. They didn't match. I cross-referenced names. 2 of the board members, listed, dead. I sat back in my chair and laughed. Not because it was funny. Because it was unbelievable. She'd built an empire out of printer ink and confidence. I started a folder. Every forged document. Every fake vote. Every illegal fine. Then I called someone. Dale. He used to be HOA treasurer. Got pushed out after questioning expenses. He came over that night. Read everything. Didn't say a word for 10 minutes. Then he nodded. "She's not just corrupt," he said. "She's sloppy." He logged into old financial archives. One line item jumped out. Neighborhood Enhancement Fund, $42,800 paid to a company called KRS Solutions. I searched it. Owner, Karen R. Simmons. "She's paying herself," Dale said. "For what?" I asked. "Nothing," he replied. "That's the point. Fake landscaping. Fake security patrols. Just her, walking around with a clipboard." I filed a complaint with the state attorney general that night. Printed everything. Bound it. Filed a countermotion in court. But while the legal gears started turning, the neighborhood turned on us. Trash pickups skipped our house. People stopped waving. One man crossed the street when when he saw me. We were marked. Then came the meeting. Another one. Her garage again. This time, I walked in calm, binder in my hands. She started talking about continued disruption. I walked to the front and dropped the binder on the table. Before you continue, I said, the neighborhood deserves to see this. She flipped it open, stopped. Her face drained of color. Dale connected his laptop to the projector. Financial statements lit up the wall. Someone whispered. Linda stood up. Karen, is this real? She laughed. Hi. Forced. This is fabricated. I cut in. You forged elections. You impersonated board members. You paid yourself with HOA funds. That's a lie. That's felony fraud, Dale said. The room went silent. She grabbed her bag and stormed out. And for the first time since we moved in, she ran. I thought it was over. I was wrong. Because 2 days later, a sheriff knocked on my door and handed me another lawsuit. This time, defamation. She wasn't scared. She was desperate. And desperate people don't stop. They escalate. Before I go any further, stay with me till the end of this story, because what happened next flipped everything in a way I never saw coming. The defamation lawsuit didn't scare me. It angered me, because only someone like her could hit a child with a car, fake an HOA, steal money, and still convince herself she was the victim. The lawsuit was absurd. Screenshots of my neighborhood posts, highlighted phrases, notes in the margins calling me unstable and aggressive. She was trying to bury me in paper. But while she was filing motions, I was filing evidence. A week later, I got a call from a blocked number. The voice on the other end was calm, professional. Mr. Grant, this is Special Agent Reyes. I sat down immediately. He told me the documents I'd sent to the Attorney General had triggered something bigger. Much bigger. He met me at a coffee shop miles away from the neighborhood. Dark suit. No badge on display. He laid out files I'd never seen before. HOA tax forms. Federal filings. She filed non-profit paperwork, he said. But she's not a non-profit. And then he dropped the bomb. She's done this in other neighborhoods. Same setup. Same shell company. Same fake boards. This wasn't just my HOA. It was a pattern. They'd been watching her for months. My evidence pushed it over the line. They asked me to keep doing exactly what I was doing. Let her think she was still in control. Because panicked people make mistakes. And she was unraveling fast. She installed more cameras. Filed for a restraining order that got thrown out. Posted open letters around the neighborhood warning people about me. Someone changed one sign to read, "Do not trust Karen. She's a lawsuit in yoga pants." That one went viral. Her money dried up when the HOA accounts were frozen. Her SUV disappeared. Then her patio furniture. She tried one last move. She came to my house. Sun setting. Sunglasses on. "You think you're a hero," she said. "You have no idea what you've started." She shoved an envelope into my chest and walked away. Inside were printouts of my emails. Annotated. Circled. Marked like evidence boards in a crime show. She wasn't trying to win anymore. She was trying to burn everything down. That night, Agent Reyes called again. "She's spooked," he said. "We're close." He didn't say more. 3 days later, I woke up to engines outside. Black SUVs. Agents. Radios crackling. They surrounded her house. She came out in a robe, clutching a binder like it could save her. "This is illegal," she screamed. Agent Reyes stepped forward. "We have a warrant." They cuffed her on the spot. Fraud. Forgery. Wire fraud. Neighbors filmed everything. The same people who wouldn't look at me weeks earlier. By noon, it was on the news. By evening, the neighborhood was quiet. But the story wasn't over yet. Because while she was being taken away, I learned someone close to me had helped her. And that betrayal almost undid everything. I wish I could say everything felt better the moment they took her away. It didn't. Relief came first. Then exhaustion. Then something colder. Because 2 days after the raid, a video appeared on the neighborhood app. Anonymous account. Grainy footage. It was me, standing in a garage, talking strategy, talking about evidence, talking about how to expose her legally, except it was chopped up, edited, twisted. The caption read, "HOA coup plot exposed." Comments exploded. I stared at the screen, heart pounding, and only one thought hit me. There was only one other person in that garage. I walked to Dale's house, knocked. He opened the door like he'd been waiting. "You leaked it," I said. He didn't deny it. "She came to me," he said quietly, "offered a deal, said it would all stop if I helped shift the narrative." I felt sick. "You knew what she did," I said. "You saw the documents. You saw my kid in the hospital." "I thought I could fix it," he replied. "Make it go away." "You picked the wrong side," I said. And I walked away. 2 days later, the second wave hit. Federal charges. Not just local, not just state. Multi-state fraud. She pled guilty. Wire fraud. Forgery. Falsification of records. 18 months in federal prison. 5 years probation. Lifetime ban from holding any HOA position. Her house sold within weeks. No forwarding address. Dale moved out quietly soon after. No goodbye. The HOA collapsed and was rebuilt under county oversight. They asked me to join the new board. At first, I said no. Then I thought about how this all started. A scooter. A sidewalk. A grown woman who decided power mattered more than a child. I said yes. Not to control anyone, but to make sure it never happened again. Now my son rides wherever he wants. He draws dinosaurs on the sidewalk again. Big ones. Loud colors. No notes. No cameras. No threats. And every time I hear a scooter rolling down the street, I smile. Because this time, the rules protect people, not bullies. If you've ever dealt with an HOA that crossed the line, leave a comment and tell me what happened. If this story meant something to you, hit like and share it. It helps more than you think. And if you want more real stories where power gets exposed and justice actually wins, you know where the subscribe button is.